for decades, and then get this opportunity to make generational wealth because of that investment they made in that community. And I know that those are fewer and far between, but it is really nice when you hear those stories. It's a beautiful thing. It's like
most of those, that's usually what they do. They go to these areas, they just don't pay top dollar, especially back then in Brooklyn.
That's the imminent domain shit that pisses me off.
Yeah. In this video, we find ourselves back with Andrew Schulz and Charlemagne on their podcast, Brilliant Idiots. Andrew Schulz and Charlemagne discuss cities using taxpayer dollars to build new stadiums and whether money is better spent in the private sector versus the government. With that, let's watch Andrew Schulz school Charlemagne on the benefits of money going into the private sector versus the government.
I would stop. I've always been very against the idea of taxpayers underwriting these sports arenas, right?
Fuck
that.
Why do I got to pay for the arena?
Why are these guys getting a fucking break?
And I can't even get free tickets to a game?
Right.
I'm serious. Wouldn't you do that? If you knew that your money was coming from taxpayers, wouldn't you be like, look, we know where this money came from. We're going to get free tickets to the game. Like in college, the students get free tickets. So should the residents of the place, like the residents, if I'm a resident of Dallas, should I not get free tickets to the fucking game?
Barclays Center. It's
a lot of people probably don't even know this. A lot of people probably don't even know this. Please explain how an arena gets built.
Well, in the case of Barclays,
Mexicans.
A guy like Bruce Ratner the first thing he did is he claimed intimate domain for Brooklyn.
Which is crazy.Here you basically
downtown Brooklyn is like the hottest real estate market in the world right now. Okay? He got intimate domain. There was some pushback. But basically, he got massive tax cuts that underwrote the construction of the arena. As soon as...
Tax cuts? They got funding.
Funding.
Not cut. We fund it.
Funding.
The city buys your arena for your team.
He sold to the Russian guy who owned the Nets for a long time. He's out. And the value of these teams keep appreciating. But the taxpayer is the one who's footing the initial bill, who's paying for the whole setup.
The pushback, though, Chris, it's not my pushback, but just what people would say is all of the jobs it creates.
A handful of jobs.
Check it. All the jobs that it creates, right? All the jobs.
Minimum wage gig economy.
Chris, you can't kick the cameras for the video podcast.
I'm getting excited here.
It's a 245% tariff on China right now, Chris.
Yeah, exactly. And we're gonna get to that in 1 second. But so
it's good.
So real quick. So what did you say exactly, Chris? It was so the tax break on it, or the jobs that it creates, right?
Right.
I'm really interested.
I'm embarrassed to admit this isn't something I've given a lot of thought to, but owning sports teams is an insanely lucrative business. And like that guy just said, the value of these teams just appreciate, it seems, exponentially. So for the argument to be that it's going to create jobs, I'm all about creating jobs, but yeah, the majority of them will be minimum wage jobs, gig jobs. And I think to ultimately determine the value of the taxpayer dollars going towards a stadium, you would have to calculate somehow the revenue that it brings to the city and the jobs versus the amount of money the taxpayers essentially donated to a multi-bajillionaire to build a stadium, which will ultimately make that person exponentially wealthier. But I'm sure there's a complicated formula that could figure that out. But at face value, it kind of seems like get investors, just like any other big project you'd undertake, and build the stadium. Why do you need the taxpayers' money for that? I mean, again, the people that are cutting these deals are wealthy beyond what most people can imagine, including myself. So, and by owning the team and by having a stadium built, like I said already, they're just a handful of individuals are getting exponentially wealthier from this stadium and from owning the team. So like I mentioned, I haven't thought about this a lot before, but when you lay it out as simply as they just did, my first instinct is like, no, why should our taxpayer money go to that? But let's watch more. Maybe they'll make some more points that will strengthen my position on it or make me change my mind a little bit. Let's get back to it.
In wages, if it costs billions of dollars to build one of these arenas,
right?
I'm really curious in wages to low and middle income workers, how much money or how long it will take to erase the $6 billion or $2 billion or whatever it is we put up to build that arena.
I mean,
you see what I'm saying?
I'm looking it up right now.
You also have to include all the tourists that it brings. All the money.
Everything it does for the economy around the city, around the arena, the restaurants, like all of that goes into play.
Yeah.
And they're able to build, like if you think about it, if you ever been to the Barclays since, it opened, think about all of the new shit that's around the Barclays. You know what I mean?
So then here we go, ready? This is, you know what? You make up a great point. I'd like to take that back. Okay, you can look that up. I'd like to take that back. So you're saying, Charlemagne the God, that when government intervenes with serious money to spend on projects that develop areas in cities that may not be developed, that it increases jobs, increases opportunities, and increases tourism?
Absolutely, but here's the thing.
Let me just get this point out. So imagine if each one of these cities with an Amazon factory got a nice tax bill at the end of the year, a fair tax bill. Imagine what they could build in their local communities, the jobs that they could create. Because if we're 100%. Funding these things anyway, it'd be nice if the people that are making trillions of dollars wouldn't mind kicking back a little something themselves.
You're right. The only problem is, and I'm not pushing back just for the sake of pushing back, because I'm not really pushing back. I'm just saying what the truth is. When these things happen, these neighborhoods end up being too expensive for the people who've always lived in these neighborhoods when they were bad to live in.
Well, you see that with commercial real estate around
If you like watching videos like this one, like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. Let's get back to the video.
Barclays.
Absolutely.
All the mom and pops have gotten pushed out.
Yeah. Gone.
Okay. Now that obviously that sucks. That's unfortunate. It is also great when somebody years ago bought one of those places and they're from the community. They're not just a person who owns a bunch of buildings, but they took their investment from their job and they invested in that community. They lived in that community for decades and then get this opportunity to make generational wealth because of that investment they made in that community. And I know that those are fewer and far between. But it is really nice. When you hear those stories, it's a beautiful thing. It's like
most of those, that's usually what they do. They go to these areas. They just don't pay top dollar, especially back then in Brooklyn.
That's the eminent domain shit that fucking pisses me off.
Yes. The worst offender is actually Yankee Stadium. I'm looking it up.
Oh, wow. Really?
Cost more. This is the new one built in 2009.
Yeah.
$2.3 billion to build. The Yankees put up $670 million of that. The rest, 1.186 billion, came from public money and tax breaks.
That's cool.
That's all,
I wouldn't give nobody in the Bronx free tickets though. You gotta keep Sorry, Bronx. I can completely understand.
Not a Bronx music. Low key.
I can completely understand if you don't want Bronx residents.
You get rid of the zoo in Yankee Stadium, bro. Ain't nobody going to the Bronx, bro. It's like they need that shit bad. They need that shit badly.
Shout out to the Bronx.
Shout out to Bronx.
What would happen if you took $1 billion and put it into the South Bronx? No Yankee Stadium. Or an old Yankee Stadium that people are going to show up to regardless.
It depends, Chris. I'm not. Listen, I'm with you. Here's the thing about all of that money and all of those resources. You got to give it to the right people who know what to do.
Exactly. You can't let you. This is what happens, and this is. Let's just be honest. Let's call it what it is. When government is left to its own devices to do these projects, nothing gets done, or not enough gets done. When the private.
Yeah, what Andrew said right there about the government being left to their own devices, never getting anything done. That's what made me have my initial reaction that I don't want to see the taxpayers' money going towards that. You've also got to think about any money that's going through the government. Everyone's trying to get a piece of it, through the politicians, through connections. So I guarantee the government, just like the federal government, is overpaying for certain things. They're giving contracts to their friends that might not be the best choice for that particular project. It might not be the best quality, but because they have a relationship. And beyond that, anytime the government's putting money into something, there also seems to be an awful lot of money that just goes missing. And everyone just kind of accepts that as that's the government doing business. So that's why I initially reacted that way. And the government is just such a poor steward with people's money. When I hear government and money in the same sentence, I just cringe right away. I think probably the right answer is a good balance of some taxpayer money because of the benefits it will bring the city, like tourism and some of the jobs, but the revenue it will bring to the city. I've just seen it myself, multiple places I've lived. I've seen areas revived, and it really does a lot for the city. So the taxpayers benefit in that way, but there's got to be a limit on how much the government's kicking in. I mean, these people doing it are wealthy enough to raise their own money. All I know for sure is the government sucks with people's money, but as far as should the government be involved in these things, I don't know the right answer. Let's wrap it up.
sector that has experience in it does it, you get Yankee Stadium built, you get Barclays built. So maybe there is this version where we let private sector people profit off of these endeavors that we know are beneficial to the city.
But that's what the private sector is supposed to be for, to me anyway, right? Well, I'm gonna tell you what I mean by that. Government, the private sector is supposed to fill in the gaps that the government has open, to me. Right? Like, because there's certain things we know the government is not going to do. There's certain people we know the government is not going to touch. We know there's certain, issues, places, the government don't even know what the fuck is going on. That's why you need people who can do the free enterprise thing, build their own businesses, take their money and their resources and put it into these cities, put it into these people. To me, I just feel like private sector should come in when government fails.
Yeah, I mean, but also private sector could just make a sneaker store that's really cool and we want to buy sneakers there. Like,
but are you employing people from the community?
Yeah, or not, or maybe not. Like, it could be whatever I want.
But then that's
I live in Tampa, Florida, and St. Petersburg, Florida, and Tampa. With the stadiums built there, when I was growing up, those areas, like, you wouldn't even walk alone in those areas. But now they're beautiful, vibrant, tons of activity, people vacation in these places. So, I see the benefit, so I've seen the benefit with my own eyes. But the bottom line for me, money is always better in the hands of the private sector. The government can spend its money on government buildings and things like that. And I'm a little embarrassed, but like I said already, I just don't know the best answer. I'd really like to hear from you guys to kind of help educate me. What do you all think? Should the government be involved in funding stadiums and cities? Yes or no? And then if yes, is there a limit to which they should be involved? If so, what does that look like? Please, again, for my own education, let me know in the comments. Anyway, as always, really appreciate you watching, and we will see you on the next one.